Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So let's just go over today. It was quite an interesting day in the market. So literally just like half an hour before the market closed, it got confirmed that Twitter essentially accepted the buyout for Twitter accepted Elon Musk's buyout of Twitter at the 54.20 a share, I believe it was. So that's pretty exciting stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually very excited to see what happens to Twitter with the. I love Twitter. It's like by far my most used social media app and whatnot. I think the app is fantastic. I mean, in terms of just usage. So I'm actually really excited to see what Elon does. So I think it's fantastic news personally. But nonetheless, that's not what we're here for. We're here for Tesla and the market, right? So let's talk about Tesla. What happened? So Tesla did start the day off pretty poor. Here I was like, what the hell? We didn't start up here. We started up here. So we started with a gap down, right? Came back up, retested, gap filled, got rejected, came back down, went up again, failed, and then we've plummeted off of that. This was essentially right here. This massive redness was essentially when the Twitter thing got Twitter got halted, and then there was pending news, and then there was a lot of fear in Tesla stock because people were scared that Elon would have to sell shares in order to fund his acquisition of Twitter. Now, there's a lot of smart people that are saying that he doesn't. He can borrow against Tesla, like against the shares, where essentially that's perfectly fine. The only way that backfires is if Tesla like literally falls off a cliff. Like I mean, like under $300 a share, like at least, like if not more. So yeah, that's what people are saying. But so that's essentially why Tesla fell here. Otherwise, I actually think Tesla might have pushed. But nonetheless, let's go over the market. So I actually think the market's looking a little bit bullish here. I'm not gonna lie. I do think there is definitely like a higher chance of a bounce upwards than there is downwards for this week at least. I'm not talking about next week. This is just specifically for this week or for like the majority of this week. Because if you take a very quick look at the indices, right? It's the QQQ, very nice kind of bullish bounce off of this area here, right? You can see it's actually ending higher than this candle close. Nice full, pretty much full green candle. I would argue SPY looks even more bullish. This is like a pretty classic hammer candle. You can see nice long wick at the bottom, about half the size of the total candle itself. The other half is of course the filled part, pretty much ending it right at the very top, showing that the buyers really truly stepped in and pushed all the way down here, and then the buyers just stepped in and brought it not only past the opening but all the way back up here. Overall, just a very bullish looking candle for the SPY, which just tells me that I really do think we're in for a bounce. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see the SPY bounce up to at the very least like somewhere close to 440 in my opinion. I really wouldn't be surprised to see like 435, between 435 to like low 440s, like very low 440s, like somewhere in that general range. Like I really wouldn't be surprised to see this SPY bounce. Naturally, if the indices are looking, fairly bullish and bouncing, I mean, that obviously helps Tesla. Not always, but it's the thing you want to do with these situations and kind of determine where Tesla in this case will move is you want to kind of see how many things are pointing to, in this case, like the side of, of course, it going up, right? In this case, I think there's more things pointing to it going up than down. So that to me tells me that, the higher there's a higher chance of it bouncing to the positive than there is to the negative. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but I would easily say it's like a 70% chance that, we bounce to the upside this week. Then we go to the downside. Now, the very first thing you want to be looking at for Tesla specifically in terms of, like, are we going to bounce to the upside or not, is whether or not we can close candles above the 1000 line. Number one, similar to this one, this is where it starts to look bullish in my opinion, and then the whole like Twitter / Tesla kind of drama came in, if you will, kind of push it down, which kind of sucked. But essentially what you want to be seeing is, especially on longer time frames, you want to be seeing these kind of candles where it just closes above 1000, but you want to see like ideally more than one, like 2 or 3 candles where it just consistently closes above 1000, which tells you that that there's a decent chance that we're going to turn 1000 into support now. And there's a decent chance we'll probably push one more time, probably back up to like maybe 1030 or something like that. That's essentially what I want to see. I want to see 1000 get retaken, and I want to see 1000 hold. So in this case, like let's say a 2-hour candle, even better a 4-hour candle, but let's say even like a 2-hour candle, something like that. You want to see that close above 1000 and hold. So it hasn't done that yet. And then once you can see something like that, then it kind of starts pointing more and more towards the direction of probably going to the upside a bit, which is essentially what I'm personally looking at. Now, the daily candle on Tesla looks, I don't know, pretty neutral, I would say. Nowhere near as good as the indices, in my opinion. Tesla's looks okay. It pretty much just says that, yeah, you know what, this support again on 974-ish, holding fantastically once again, but unfortunately 1000 is kind of holding us back once again as well. So we're kind of bouncing in this range, which I did expect, and I did say that way back here, how I said probably gonna go up here, reject, and then probably just consolidate in this area. But based on how the indices are looking, I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla does maybe come back up to around 1020 to 1030. That wouldn't surprise me, but that's like a realistic good scenario. A realistic like best case scenario would be to retest the upper line over here. So let's go back to like the 1 hour, let's say. Actually, let's go back to the 4 hour. So I would say the realistic, like almost like best is case scenario would be to some go up to like maybe like almost 1060, like 1050 to 1060 to retest this line up here that we've kind of got rejected twice at. That would be like the realistic best case scenario. I would give this one like maybe a 30% chance of happening. I'll give the scenario of coming up to like the 1020 to 1030 probably like a 40 to 50% chance of happening. I would give the scenario of just consolidating sideways in this general vicinity between like the very low thousands to like the very low 970s, and just kind of consolidating there for the rest of the week, the majority of the rest of that percentage. And then like 5% I'll pretty much give that, you know, we just instantly just plummet down below. Now, the one thing that can bring us down below, I would say, is this is a very big week of earnings. There's like Amazon, Facebook, I think Apple, Google. If the majority of those bad boys, especially something like, you know, Google or Amazon or especially Apple, if they give like horrendous earnings and they just plummet after market based on that, that would be really bad. That would drag the whole market down, including Tesla. I would say that right there is pretty much, in my opinion, the only or the major biggest catalyst that can prevent Tesla from pushing upwards and instead actually make us finally fall below this 974. Now, ultimately, I do think we will fall below 974. I just don't think it'll happen this week. And if it will be this week, it'll probably be at the end of the week, like Thursday or Friday, in my opinion. I do think Tuesday and Wednesday look overall fairly bullish. Now, taking a quick look on the daily, looking at the the indicators in this. The indicators overall, you can see decent volume today, not bad, right? Almost 23 million volume, so the volume is fine. The RSI is still kind of going sideways, still fairly unsure. So there's no like true direction picked yet. We are getting rejected by the short-term moving averages, which is which is not the best thing in my opinion, because that's kind of showing that the momentum is slowing down a bit. But I still don't think that means that, which to me, if we can't push above these moving averages, which is essentially in the low thousands, then I really think that, a realistic worst case scenario, not worst case scenario, but like bad case scenario would be that we just consolidate in this general area, like pretty much what we did today, just for the majority of the week. We just kind of consolidate up, down, up, down, up, down, kind of a chop sort of week, up, down between this like 970 to like low thousands area. And the realistic worst case scenario is we just essentially break down and finally visit this mid 900 area, which is where I'm personally going to be buying. Pretty much what I'm doing right now is I'm selling puts. I'm selling puts all the way like in this area right here. So I'm willing to buy like in this whole area right here. Like I'll buy some here, then I'll buy some here, then I'll buy some like here, kind of something like that. That's the way I currently have my stuff set up. If Tesla does bounce, fantastic, that's great. That means I pretty much get that premium for free, which is also a win. Like it's a win-win for me either way. I don't really mind which way it goes. But ultimately, guys, even again, regardless of what happens, this week-ish, regardless of what happens with the bounce, like the SPY potentially going up to like, that 440 area, the QQQ potentially coming up to like, the 340 to the 350 areas. Regardless of what happens, I still believe that, we are going to make lower lows. I really think that this is just going to be a lower high. Same with Tesla. I do think that overall this will just be kind of a lower high. And I think ultimately, like as a market and including Tesla, we will still revisit the mid to low 900s. I'm still expecting that. I'm still like holding, strong to that belief. So yeah, that's essentially what I'm seeing, guys. Let me know what you guys think down below. Again, I do think decent chance that this is going to be a chop week for Tesla. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. Again, absolute best case scenario, in my opinion, that's realistic is pretty much a touch over here on this line that we've been getting rejected several times, which essentially will put us around 1050-ish. Realistic good case scenario 1020 to 1030. Realistic neutral case scenario would be sideways, essentially pretty much what we did today, just more or less for the most of the week. And then the realistic back case scenario would, and I guess worst case to back case scenario would be essentially finally breaking below this 974 and then dropping all the way down here. So again, guys, the major things you want to look at, because I can be like, oh yeah, it'll go up or down or sideways, right? that's like not really helpful. Again, the main thing you want to look for in order to determine which of those things is going to play out is essentially key levels breaking, right? Again, like I said, if you want any of these two scenarios to play out, whether it's, you know, this 1020 to 1030 or even the 1050 area, the number one thing you want to look at is something on like the 2 hour at least. In this case, you want to see a 2 hour candle close above 1,000. That's the first thing you want to see. If you can see that and it has like a nice solid green candle closing above 1,000 without it just instantly plummeting back down, okay, then that's, you know, it's very well in the cards that, you know, we're going to be probably going to one of these areas I told you up here. If that just consistently keeps getting rejected, then you want to see how it's getting rejected. If Tesla is getting rejected constantly at this 1,000 level like this, but it's falling less and less each time, so essentially it's creating higher lows, even though it's constantly getting rejected, that's a bullish setup. So essentially it can look something like this. Let's do it in 30 minutes, a bit easier. So essentially, if Tesla looks something like this, where, you know, it keeps getting rejected at this 1,000, but it keeps coming down to like higher low, higher low, higher low, and then that, you know, that signifies a bullish pattern that will eventually break through and then actually push for one of these targets. If it just cannot do that, or if it ever falls below like one of these, you know, this line essentially, as it's kind of, you know, making higher lows. So essentially, if Tesla falls below like 985, I would say 985-ish, pretty much the remainder of the week, then that's potentially looking like, you know, maybe we won't, and maybe we're just going to be chopping sideways for the remainder of the week. Now for the downside, in order to determine that that's probably coming, is essentially pretty much breaking that 970, like 5 to 970 area. Like if 970 breaks, we're probably going down to like 950 to like 930, something like that. But those are the key levels that I would look for if I were you, if you're trading, of course. If you're not trading and just investing, gives a shit. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think down below. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.